Welcome to Scoop World Order. It is Monday. We are rolling along. It is July 10th. It is cranking. Summer conditioning is back. The players are back. It is down to the final 3 weeks or so before Mickey Marotti hands the keys to the car over to Ryan Day and they begin training camp. This is a very fast 3 weeks. The coaches are still on vacation, I believe, for one more week. And then they'll get together, get fall camp scripted up, get ready to roll, see what these rotations look like on the offensive and defensive line. And it's almost time to play football, ladies and gentlemen. There's a really interesting interview that Ryan Day did with Joel Klatt. We're going to talk a little bit about that. We're going to talk about a big monster, humongous defensive tackle out of IMG who is considering Ohio State versus Texas. He's going to be committing, I believe, on the 23rd. So there's some nice spacing between him and Aaron Scott on the 30th. Kingston. These guys are coming hot and heavy. This could be a very good month for Ohio State on the recruiting trail. So we're going to get into that. As always, thank you guys so much for joining us. I hope you guys had a great weekend. Very thankful and grateful for you guys. If you enjoy this content, please click like, click subscribe. Send this to your friends, your family, your favorite Ohio State and college football fans. And if you really love these live shows, click the little alert bell. You'll get the alerts. Start firing up in that chat. Which of the final three is the most important recruit to get between Kingston, Aaron Scott, and Jaden Jackson, the defensive tackle? If you can only have one, or you can only have two, or let's do 2 out of 3. If you can only get 2 out of 3, you're the 2 that you need. I always like bigger guys, so I'm going to go Kingston. I'm going to go the D tackle, but love to hear your input. So put that down in the chat. I'm going to bring in my good friend Nevadabuck. Nevada, Oxford, Ohio is graced with your presence right now. How is it going in the land of the Redskins?
That's day 5, Nevadabuck in Oxford, Ohio. So it's Nevadabuck watch. Got another 5 days to go, but we're at the halfway point right now. I feel like this is an episode of like Naked and Afraid or something like that, where I'm living off of candy from CVS and deep fried food at every restaurant that I go to. So it's quite the battle right now to maintain my girlish physique and keep my weight under 280 pounds.
I know that you're a very much a creature of habit. Where you're at, kind of what you do, your routine. Is it hard to break habit especially when you're in the middle of a college town like Oxford? And I know it is the Red Hawks, but I call it the Redskins because Randy Walker called it the Redskins, so I want to call it the Redskins. But is it tough? And how do you go about do you just like get on Yelp and kind of bomb around, or do you look for the big crowds, or how do you figure out where to eat when you're there literally all day trying to find 3 meals a day?
Well, there's only like 5 restaurants of note here, so I just keep rotating those 5 restaurants and just keep moving in. I did the Steinkeller for a little German food yesterday, and so yeah, no, I'm just tonight I'm doing the pig and pickle or the pickle and pig. I'm not sure which one it is, but it's one of those, and yeah, no, it's Nevada Buck is doing it all. By the time that this trip is over, I will have eaten in every eatery in Oxford, Ohio, and I'll have a review. I'll have a review. We'll
It,
call it Scoop Eats Oxford, and we'll do that.
just make sure you hit that buffet at the hotel and we get a nice, good review on that because that's the kind of content that everybody is dying to watch. It's always an amazing hit. Uh,
Absolutely.
we're gonna break into Kingston. We got the commits. I don't know if these plan these out where they're kind of spread out week over week, but we've got Kingston coming up. We've got Jaden Jackson, who's a kid a lot of people had us in ink for. It might be erasable ink. A lot of smoke around Texas with Jaden Jackson. Then on the 30th, for Aaron Scott's dear dad's birthday, he is committing. So Aaron Scott might become my favorite college football player of all time if he, on his dad, who's a diehard Buckeye fan, if he does the big boot leg drop and he actually becomes a Michigan Wolverine on the day. I think I'd actually love that. I think it'd be absolutely hilarious because your dad's dream to tell all of his buddies that, hey, my boy is the one that made it to Ohio State, got the offer and all that, and then he goes to Michigan. I think it would be hilarious. Now, I don't think there's any chance it's going to happen. I think he's 100% Buckeye, and he's enjoying the experience of having Charles Woodson and Troy Smith and whoever tweeted him. But what are your thoughts on his process thus far as we get down to July 30th?
Well, this might surprise you, but like I completely understand it, and I always say journey commitment is like the one time in a lot of people's lives, maybe the only time in their life when they have people just completely fawning all over them, throwing themselves all over them, taking them for big steak dinners, calling them, telling them how great they are. The courting is much, much better than the relationship, as we know, a lot of times, because a lot of times, they'll say whatever to get it done, and then you go to school there, and whether it's college baseball at Tennessee, or whether it's hockey, or whatever it is, like they'll say whatever they want to say, and then it's not the same once you make the commitment and not you're in the relationship, and they're like that you're not quite as cool. So, for me, I get it, I understand it, and I would soak up every minute of the adoration, because everybody should have that at least once in their life, where they just get pursued and wined and dined and catered to, and the kids are enjoying the moment, and I say let the kids enjoy it.
And honestly, with in the world of NIL, where there's bidding wars and there's fighting for money and there's, it's like if you're just the nice, easy guy that commits early, again, like if you look at Bryce West and you look at Scott versus like Miles Lockhart. Miles Lockhart like didn't visit anywhere else, went to one school, verbally committed 8 months ago, committed last week. Probably won't get anything for NIL, or if he does, he'll get like a little package, maybe 5, 10 grand, whatever. But he's not going to get like the 100 grand that some of these guys are getting, because they're just more sought after, or there's the illusion that they're more sought after, or there's the illusion that you have to sweeten the pot to get a kid to commit. And again, like I hate that, because I think that there's some kids that genuinely hate recruiting. They hate being blown up by all these idiot, national writers that are calling them all the time, DMing them all the time, all these coaches calling them. You have to fake being interested. I think some of those kids eventually just want to shut it down and just be at peace and go do their thing. But I think there are some kids that actually genuinely love it and they enjoy it. So Kingston, I believe, is coming up on the 23rd. Jane Jackson's coming up here pretty quick. We're gonna throw his film on. He's a big old dude. He's a big old Samoan-ish kid. 6'2", 300. He looks bigger than 300. I think 300 is like maybe before breakfast and lunch and dinner for like a couple weeks or something, because he looks a lot bigger. But he's your big nose guard. He's the guy that you want in the middle. He gets upfield. He's at IMG, so they play some really good teams, and they play some Bishop Sycamore, like terrible teams. And like some of this film I was watching, I was like, I don't know how on earth these guys got IMG on the schedule, unless, IMG, it's kind of a tricky deal, because nobody really wants to play those guys, because it legitimately is like a Division I All-Star team. So, a regular high school is not going to want to play IMG, which is why they end up having to play like Bishop Sycamore and some of these crap teams, because, they're going to get destroyed by these guys. These guys are all going to Bama and Georgia and Ohio State. So let me toss this film on real quick for you guys as we watch them. Again, the best part about kids that are, they've got the Pacific Islander, the Samoans, the Tongans, is they have long hair, so they're easy to find on film. So I appreciate Danny Shelton played for the Browns. He's got like the big kind of thing going on, the big head shrinker thing. And I think that's great, because it's easy to find him. But he's a big, strong guy. When I was in the NFL, the strongest guys I ever was around were the Samoans and the Tongans. Like Isaac Sopagoa is the guy I played with in San Francisco. Probably the strongest player in the entire NFL, because I would lift with him, and I was really strong, and he was just like ultra, absolutely insane strong. And it wasn't because he like took creatine and ate chicken and rice. It was, he would drink like a 24-pack of Diet Cokes, and he had like the craziest diet ever, and he was like an absolute monster and made a fortune in the league. But Nevada, what do you think of these big run plugger D tackles? Is this something that we need to replenish? Is this something that's going away with the advent of the spread? How important is it to get some of these big guys that are the tough guys to move in the middle of the defensive line?
Well, you bring up an interesting point, and it's a great one, and it's not one that I've really heard expressed a lot by a lot of people, and that's why I love talking about stuff like that on this podcast. But I really wonder how important guys like this are in the spread era. You know what I'm
Sure.
saying? It's like, it's not like the good old days where you need that traditional guy in the nose that kind of plugs it up, and the Vince Wilfork, and that kind of takes up three guys and wears 380 pounds and does his thing. The defensive linemen are getting a little smaller. the positions, calling for more, like you said, up the field disruption as opposed to, hold the point of attack and grab the guys. So, look, I want them because we don't have a lot of those guys. I mean, those guys generally are in the domain of the Deep South and Pacific Islanders on the West Coast, and that's really it. That's really where big guys like this are. So I want them because we don't have them, but then I wonder how much we really need them because we don't really play them that much. So it's really a conundrum and really an interesting point. We could do an entire podcast on what the spread has done to different positions and body types that you're looking for. But I want him because he's a good football player, and I always wonder what a good football player that size could do in Ohio State's defense. But not sure we need him.
Yeah, again, like you can't have enough good defensive tackles on a good football team. But I think that the study I read a study a couple weeks ago because all I do is read it and study football, and you look at Georgia's defense has gotten much smaller compared to like Bama's dominant defenses of the early like the 2011, 12, 13 Bama era. Like Georgia, who has a comparably tough defense, stops the run, stops everything, erases everything. They've gotten much smaller. Now, granted, I know that they had the 6'7", 360-pound guy that ran 4.7 and was unbelievable and was a first-round pick, Jordan Davis, who went to the Eagles, but he's kind of an anomaly. Like, guy for guy, Nolan Smith was playing defensive anyway, like 220, 215, whatever he did. I mean, he's a little guy. And I think that the way they spread the ball out, the way the ball's out of the quarterback's hand fast, the way the passing game has gotten so horizontal. Obviously we like to push the ball deep, but they also like to throw these little quick tunnel screens, little quick like moving bubble screens and deals where you need guys that can run and you need guys that can rush the passer. And with Ohio State, the biggest thing we need is pass rush. Like we need a lot of pass rush because we score as many points as anybody in the country. We're going to be top 3 in scoring again this year, I'm sure. And when you're scoring that many points, you're ahead most of the games. And to close them out, you need guys that can get upfield and rush the passer. And I don't know if, and again, he's not as big. When you look at if you just look at a photo of him, you'd think, okay, he's probably 330, 6'2". But, they list him at 300, which is kind of weird, because he looks like a bigger, heavier, wide-body dude. But he's not overly big. Now, again, the weights could be wrong. And, the film, like, he looks bigger on film than he does, in his photos. And plus, he's a year older now. But I don't know. You need the Mike Halls, man. You need the guys that can get upfield, pass rush, and get to the quarterback, disrupt it. Because, we're not going to see a lot of running, generally, until we see Michigan or Georgia or a team of comparable talent. Most of these teams are going to be throwing it on us because they're going to be behind and they just don't think they can block our guys up front. Because that's the other part of the computation you have to remember is that a lot of these teams, they go into the game against Ohio State when we're really good up front on defense, and they're like, we can't block those guys. We can't block, back when we had Quinn Pitcock and Will Smith and guys like that. Like, you can't block those guys, so we better, get rid of the ball fast, and we better, run some misdirection runs and some draws and little short stuff. Because, if you try to get into a business where you're just going to line up and blow Ohio State off the ball, either Ohio State is terrible, it's the worst Ohio State team ever, or you've got, like a Michigan's number 1 overall offensive line. And 99% of the teams we play don't have that. So, but it'll be interesting to see where this kid goes. I mean, if he goes to Ohio State, it'd be fantastic. If he goes to Texas, great. I mean, God bless him. But there was a time where, this guy was in ink to Ohio State, and I don't know if it's like that anymore. But I like his film. And again, like I said, I revere the Simones and Tongs I played with in the NFL because I couldn't believe how good of athletes they were. I played Haloti Ngata was like the best defensive tackle in the league, and he was 6'5", 340, power lifter from Oregon, probably a Hall of Fame NFL guy. And you just don't see many guys that can run. Because the big thing is, like, there's a lot of big dudes that are 6'5", 340, but they can't run. They're not explosive. They're not twitch over. That's what puts, like, the Simones and Tongans into different levels because they're just that physically gifted. And I can sit and talk about them all day, but, like, until you've actually had to block them like I did, you don't realize that it's like trying to block like a redwood tree. I mean, literally, it was, like, insane how strong some of these guys were. So, but yeah, I like his tape. He gets upfield. He's blocked a couple punts, which is kind of weird. But again, I think that these guys either play the best teams in the country or the worst teams in the country. There's really not a lot of in between with IMG because nobody wants to play these guys. But yeah, it's going to be an interesting little race to signing day and to camp starting. Nevada, with the camp battles going on, obviously people are focused on the quarterback and the offensive line just because of the inexperience there. Cal McCord is going to be our starting quarterback. I mean, Devin Brown had that hand surgery. He's barely able to grip a football, so it's pretty much locked in for Kyle unless he vomits all over the place to be the day one starter. What other battles are you looking forward to hearing some buzz about in training camp?
Well, I'm interested in the cornerbacks. The cornerback position obviously went from, we've talked about this ad nauseum where we had the impossible stat of zero interception from our cornerbacks last year, which I just, you know, zero, zero rushing touchdowns and zero interceptions of the quarterback. I'm not sure what type of parlay odds you could have got on that, but it'd be like 1,000 to 1. But that actually happened. Um, but I'm interested to see that because you've got a lot of guys moving in. Obviously, you've got Davison coming in via the transfer portal. Um, I mean, you've got Jordan Hancock, Jair. I mean, you've got guys that are Denzel. You've got guys that are coming up. Guys that have been good, kind of leveled off. Guys coming in from other schools. So I mean, that's really a battle that I'm going to be interested in watching because it's we just weren't that talented on defense last year. And, people can say all that they want, but, when you have as many guys as we do leave Ohio State, go to the NFL draft and go undrafted, and those guys are gobbling up big minutes, man, that's an issue. And I think that's not the issue with the guys this year. These guys will all be NFL draft picks. These guys are all, a cut above in terms of talent. And, I'm really interested in seeing that. And toss on top of that, just because I have to mention his name whenever we talk about what I'm looking forward to is the Sonny Styles experiment. How do they roll him out there? What do they do with him? We've been saying, the plan is to kind of walk him out there like a outside linebacker, the early downs, then drop him back into one of those safety spots on third down. But we'll see how they use him because it's going to be, high impact guy like that's got to find the field, but he's difficult for them to kind of place. So it's going to take all of Knowles' creativity to use him, and that's something I'm definitely looking forward to seeing.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think with what Jim Knowles can do, and again, like I think year two in a system is a major deal. And again, it was a whole new system, And again, I don't know how often you can really express how difficult that is. I was a part of coordinator changes. When I was at Ohio State, obviously Mark D'Antonio went on to Cincinnati. Mark Snyder was promoted to defensive coordinator. Snides was the coordinator in 04. And then he went and took the head coaching job at Marshall. Then Jim Haycock and Luke Fickle were promoted. So, there were three different coordinators in 3 years, but they ran the exact same defense, and they might have, been more or less aggressive depending on their personalities, but the terminology was the same. Fits were the same. The defenses were, frankly, it was a lot easier to play defense back then just because, you're stopping a lot of I formation runs and close quarter football as opposed to the wider, you got to cover the entire field type game that it is now. So I think year two where, a lot of these guys are going to be reacting a lot quicker just because they're not going to be thinking. It's all second nature. I think the addition of James Laurinaitis is huge. I think that he's like another set of eyes for Tommy and Steele running the linebacker show. I think that we're just more talented. I think we're dramatically more talented. I think that the front four this year of JT and Jack with Mike Hall and Tyleek, Ty Hamilton is much more talented than the group we had last year. Where we played Teron Vincent undrafted, Jerron Cage undrafted. Zach Harrison had a nice year, not a pass rusher. He'll play 10 years in the NFL because he's the kind of guy that great form, fast, big, strong, defensive NFL coaches will always be trying to get it out of him. And he just does everything right. He's a nice kid, smart. He'll be great in the community in Atlanta. He'll be a 10-year NFL guy. Like you can write that in ink almost. But I think that, when Jack Story getting to put his hand back in the dirt, I'm really excited for Mike Hall. Like Mike Hall is a guy that first game, it was like, yeah, here's all the stuff we talked about in those Nuggets where, you get on our Nuggets on Buckeye Scoop. We're saying how good Mike Hall is and how dominant he is and how he gets upfield and he's a penetrator and a disruptor. And that Notre Dame game against a good offensive line, he was very disruptive. And then kind of got dinged up with the shoulder, kind of got shelved. Again, I question the rotations. I love Larry Johnson, as much as any offensive lineman could ever love Larry Johnson. But I don't know why some of those guys didn't play more, and I think some of it is because they're lazy. I think some of those guys need to play harder. But I also think that there's some guys that aren't lazy. They just didn't get enough burn playing defensive end and playing defensive tackle. Offensive line wise, I'm really excited to see if the chalk wins out. The chalk being Josh Fry at left tackle, Josh Simmons at right tackle. Center, I still feel like it's going to be Jacob James, even though I think a lot of people are projecting Carson Hinsman. I mean, Jacob James is going into year 4. He's the same age as Luke Whippler. He's been around the block. He's older. He's got that old man strength. And then you kind of insulate him with Donnie Jackson, who's projected to go 19 overall in the ESPN mock draft that just came out last week, and Matt Jones, who's in year 6. Like, again, I couldn't imagine how easy it would be to play college football in year 6. Because, I mean, you're literally like a 24-year-old going against 18-year-olds and 19-year-olds and 20-year-olds. So I think Matt's going to have a really nice year. Does the chalk hold all the way through the first game? Does anybody get injured? Or do they do the 2021 move where they shuffle everybody and they move, that opening day line in 2021 it was Thayer at left tackle, then it was Josh Fry at left guard. Our center was Harry Miller. It was like a wholesale fire wagon change by the end of the thing. They moved Paris. Paris Johnson started off at right guard, and Nick Petit was at right tackle. But then after 10 days of camp, it was everybody changed positions. And then Harry Miller had his issue. And all of a sudden, you're starting literally 5 guys at 5 new spots. By the time they were done putting Thayer at left guard and Nick Petito at left tackle, DeJuan came off the bench. Paris was the only guy that was still in the same spot from the first day of camp to the first day of the season. What do you think, Nevada? Do you think it's going to be chalk when we open up at Indiana, or is there going to be some mixing?
It's betting the field is always kind of the easy thing because there's just so many combinations that can work. But I like, I probably like Hinsman over James just because I just think he's kind of nudged ahead. But that would not shock me at all to see Jacob grab that center spot. I think Simmons is better than I thought he was going to be, and I think people around Ohio State have kind of come to that conclusion that he's a pretty good player. And came from San Diego State, had some problems with penalties, but he's strong and he's active and he's eager, and he might be a guy that kind of gets into that right tackle spot and you just can't move him out. So then it's going to be fun. Justin Fry is going to have to earn his money because Justin Fry is not tearing it up on the recruiting trail. It's something that doesn't get talked about as much as the previous guy used to get maligned for recruiting, despite getting 5 stars in every recruiting cycle for 5 years in a row. Justin's not getting it done on the recruiting trail, but it's got to get it done in the coaching one. And for me, coaching is much more important. I think he can make it work with the raw material he has, but he needs to coach them up and have a good year because he's got lots of different combinations. But it's going to be incumbent upon him to find those 5 combinations that work.
Good to see what's up to Paul. Big what's up to Tyler Carizza. Put this on the screen. Nevada, your reaction. Pat Fitzgerald was just fired by Northwestern. Breaking on ESPN.com. Are you surprised?
Shocked. I am freaking shocked.
I talked about it the other day. I was like, the lynch mob.
Yeah, I know. And
I was like, I lived it with Trussell, man. It was like that lynch mob gets going, and they got the media outside the chancellor's office with the pitchforks and the fire, and what a disgrace! Wow,
dude. It's like they say it's like you just when you got the mob coming after you, everybody just hopes that the alligator eats them last. You know what I'm saying? And when the mob focused on Fitzgerald, I guess he didn't have a chance. I didn't think for a second that he was going to get run. I thought that this was just going to be one of those cute stories that kind of went there. Now, is there more to it? But it seems to me like social media just kind of focused on him, and they were just going to serve up. They needed a head, and so they're going to serve him up. But no, I am legit shocked by that. That wow, that's a stunner.
And again, if there is more to it, then I apologize if some crazy thing comes up. But as of what I've seen so far, where it's like a bunch of disgruntled players that never played, made these claims, and then guys like Greg Newsom was a first round pick, black kid, plays for the Browns, came out and said, "I never felt any racism. I love Coach Fitz. I love the culture." Again, a lot of the times when this stuff happens, it's guys that don't play, guys that are just, they're just disgruntled or whatever, and like this is a sad day because I know the strength coaches at Northwestern really well. They were my strength coaches at Ohio State. Great people, not an ounce of any sort of negative deal. Guys I'd love for my kids to go, play football and be trained by Jay Hoot and some of those guys. And I'm shocked. But again, I also know that like these guys, these people in positions of power are gutless, spineless cowards, and they will do anything to save their own jobs. And it doesn't matter who they have to step on, who they have to stab in the back. This is how it is. That's college athletics, and good riddance. I mean, but that's crazy. I mean, I imagine they'll probably, now here's the hard part. You open camp in 3 weeks. So the only thing you can really do is promote from within. Again, and thank you, Tyler, for putting that on there, because I wouldn't have checked that. I didn't see that coming. But
Now, does this mean we're getting Terrell Sutton? Is Terrell Sutton going to come to Ohio State?
God, I wish we could have got that Peter Skoronsky kid, but he's already in the league. He's playing for Tennessee now. Because then we'd have our left tackle. We'd be good. Nevada, who's going to replace Pat? I mean, I would think you have to promote one of the coordinators. I don't even know if they've done that yet, but like you're 3 weeks out from camp. You can't bring in a whole new staff. I mean, I would run to the over under total in Vegas right now and go hammer that on whatever the under is. I'd put every dime I had on it because you're gonna have kids transfer out because of this. You're gonna have kids sit out, whatever. I mean, this is gonna be just a decrepit year for these guys. But I'm shocked. Like I said, I was joking about the initial suspension because I was like, oh wow, they suspended him for 2 weeks during his vacation. So for those of you guys that aren't familiar with the college football calendar, is usually like around July 4th ish when all the camps are wrapped up and the official visits are wrapped up. The coaches are literally cut loose for 3 weeks where they're literally not in the office, on vacation. They're in Jamaica or Aruba or Bali or Wyoming or Montana or wherever because they got to go recharge the batteries before the grind starts. So when they suspended him for 2 weeks, I'm like, well, he's gonna miss he's gonna miss a paycheck while he's on vacation for 2 weeks. So I was like, that's probably the most toothless suspension I've ever seen in my life because, again, it's if you're on vacation and your work says, hey, don't come to the office for 2 weeks and we're not going to pay you, like, okay, like hurt me. I've already made $50 million as the head coach at Northwestern, wherever he's made. So. But yeah, it's I know it's funny. Everyone's asking, does Northwestern have any good offensive tackles? They might have good offensive linemen. I'd send Justin Fry. I'd be right outside the facility right now. Had a big old sign up in the air saying, "Hey, you guys want to come play?" But no, I'm just stunned. Wow. One of the more shocking firings, just because of how close it is and really how quick it happened. Like with the Tressel thing. I was living that. I was literally working for him. And it was like rumors of the Sports Illustrated article, rumors of this guy around town interviewing people. And so there was like months of buildup. And then Beano Cook, I'll never forget, Beano Cook comes out of the blue in April and says, and I remember I showed it to Tress, I was like, do you know something that I don't know? When Beano Cook comes out and says, I predict Urban Meyer will be the head coach in 2012 for Ohio State. And this is like in April. This is like during spring ball. And I walked into Trent's office, I showed it to him, and I was like, do you know anything about this? Like, I mean, that's a pretty, like, far out claim to make, but obviously Beano knew something because he went with it. Then a month later he gets whacked, but yeah, it was crazy. Yeah, this is shocking, Nevada. I mean, are you shocked? I mean, I'm shocked. This is like, I didn't think, I thought maybe he gets suspended for 6 games or something, but this is something else.
Yeah, like I said, I don't want to go down a rabbit hole on it, but I just I think when the mob comes for you, man, you just you keep your head down. Everybody just keeps their head down and points at the other guy and just hopes that the mob, the wheel of outrage doesn't fall on them, because when it does, bingo, bango, bongo, man, it's all over. And it takes people with a lot of intestinal fortitude and strength to be able to stand up to the mob. But obviously, Fitzgerald didn't have enough good. I thought he had enough goodwill built up there,
Oh
being
God.
from there and coach of the year and taking that program I mean, heck, remember the year that Northwestern played and they didn't have a single player uh, get disqualified for COVID. Remember that?
Oh
They were the
what?
only.
The
They
only
were the only.
team.
They were the only team in the country that literally they didn't lose one player game to COVID.
That's amazing. That's
Yeah,
hilarious, really.
yeah, that
Yeah.
is
Well,
just
I mean,
that's.
I remember he took over the program when Randy Walker literally died. And I mean, and Pat Fitzgerald was like Pat Fitzgerald was basically James Laurinaitis. He was like 35 years old. He was a linebackers coach, but I don't even know if he was the DC. But Randy Walker literally had a heart attack and died. And he was a fantastic coach. He beat us in '04, and then they promoted Fitzgerald, and he's been the guy since '06. So I mean, he's been. I mean, he's got to be. He's the dean of the entire Big. I mean, he's got 17 years on the job. Well, Ferentz. I mean, other than Ferentz, I mean, he's got to be number two. I mean, coaches don't last very long in the Big Ten. They might last 5, 6 years. I mean, he's been there for 17, so that's crazy. Wow. So, yeah, wow. Be interesting to see how long he's out, where he lands. Because I mean, he's obviously he'd be a DC somewhere tomorrow, but yeah, that's I don't know. I'm shocked. I've been shocked many times in my life, but him getting whacked after nothing, after three disgruntled players come out and say a bunch of stuff that a lot of people didn't corroborate, but whatever. Well, we'll wrap this thing. This thing went way longer than I thought just because of that issue. I appreciate you guys so much for bringing that up again. Appreciate you guys in the comments. Comments have been going crazy, so thank you guys for that. Any final thoughts, Nevada?
We're closing in on 20,000 subscribers to our YouTube channel, which is an amazing accomplishment. So if you haven't subscribed yet, make sure you subscribe. If you have subscribed, recommend it to your friends. But we're coming down to 20,000. We're going to do something special for our 20,000th episode. And in the meantime, I'm at day 5 of captivity in Oxford, Ohio right now, working my way through to 10. I have like a little thing on my wall. I put little notches on my wall. They're counting down the days. But in the meantime, I'm working my way through every eatery in Oxford House. So if you have any suggestions, send them to Mr. Barton. He can send them on to me, and I will eat and review on our next podcast.
Or join BuckeyeScoop.com and you can direct message him all day. Skyline Chili. That's popping up in the thing, Nevada. Skyline Chili.
I did that the other. I've never done Skyline before. I did that for the first time the other day. I had the cheesy dog, but the thing is, it was so much cheese, like you could almost not even find the dog. It was like that was like a lot of cheese, and I like cheese.
It was just like too much cheese. Oh my god. Yeah,
No, it wasn't. It was good. It was good. It was good. It was enjoyable.
then you had a Greater Shake. The Greater Shake is hard to beat though.
Yeah, I did. But then my tummy, then my tummy hurt. I had the large peach shake from Grader's, man. Get the peach shake,
Oh,
but the large. I could have gone medium. I should have gone medium.
1,500 calories and 900 grams
Yeah,
of sugar. Yum.
yeah, exactly.
That's
Yum
that's
yum.
that's the best. Well, appreciate you guys. We're gonna wrap this up. Again, thank you guys so much. We love kicking it with you guys. Almost to 20,000, so thank you. Shout out where you guys are watching from. Appreciate that as always. Put that down in the comments. Again, I love your reaction to Pat Fitzgerald. Throw that in the comments as well. Wow, what a crazy day. What a great. Wow, I don't have any words. It's just nuts. But appreciate you guys as always. If you enjoyed this content, please leave us a like. Click that like button on the way out the door. Click the subscribe button. Send this to your friends. If any of your friends are Ohio State fans or you're friends with them real life, Facebook, Instagram, whatever. We get a lot of word of mouth people. A lot of people tell me that they get it from their friends. And, hey, he sent me this and I loved it. So appreciate you guys doing that. Thank you guys so much as always. If you enjoy our live show, Sue, Paul, some of you guys that are the regulars, our regular crowd, Mello. Appreciate you guys as always. Click that little bell. get a little alert on your phone when we go live so you never miss a show. So we appreciate you guys so much. We love kicking with you guys. It's great seeing you guys as always. So hope you guys have a great rest of your day. I'm jumping on BuckeyeScoop.com. It is going to be crazy on there with this Fitzgerald news. So if you guys love talking college football 24 hours a day, 365 days a year, we are the spot for you. Love to have you on BuckeyeScoop.com. Consider joining. It's about to be that time. It's Christmas time, baby. It's August. It's camp. It's buzz. It's nuggets. It's about to become hardcore. So hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Thank you so much, Buckeye Nation. Thank you, Scoop family. I'll talk to you guys tomorrow. Go Bucks.